Brothers and sisters, we are now on the second Sunday of Easter. At the same time, we are commemorating today the feast of the Divine Mercy. Today's Gospel begins with the first action of Jesus after the resurrection as he appears to his disciples. The setting is very important, or there's an atmosphere of surprise, fear, and wonder. Unable to see, visualize the presence of Jesus as he suddenly appears before them. It was Easter Sunday, 2 days after the death of Jesus. The disciples were inside the house with the door firmly locked because they were terrified. As companions of Jesus, they would be liable to arrest and punishment. The words of assurance that had been given to them earlier were all forgotten. Their fear was suddenly shattered by the unexpected appearance of Jesus in their midst. The very fact that he could be present in spite of the locked doors indicated that he was not the same person as they had encountered earlier, but he was present to them in a new and unexpected way. He calmed their fear with the immediate gift of peace. Peace be with you was his first greeting. It was the normal Jewish greeting of Shalom. But coming from Jesus, the Prince of Peace, to this group of frightened people, it had a special meaning. And in Greek, this new verb which can be taken either as a wish or a statement, in fact, indicating that Jesus is truly present to us. There is peace, and to establish continuity between the earthly Jesus and the risen Lord, he showed them his hands and his side. The second action of Jesus was the commissioning of the disciples to the gift of the Holy Spirit. Jesus continued to speak to them and teach them as he did at the Last Supper, repeating his greeting of peace. He proceeded to give them the mission. He commissioned the disciples to continue the same work in the world that Jesus had been doing. There was no critical word of any sort regarding their failure to stand by him during his final moments. Jesus empowered the disciples to carry on his mission by breathing in them the Holy Spirit. In a sense, this is the new creation, similar to that what God did at the first creation. The breath of life, the ministry of God breathing the dust of the earth and creating human life in the first man, or as the prophet Ezekiel says in the parable of the valley of the bones. The final event in this passage centers on the encounter of Thomas with the Lord. This is in reality a story of faith. When Jesus appeared to the disciples for the first time on Easter Sunday evening, only 10 disciples were present. One of the disciples, Thomas, was not present among them on this occasion. The reason of his absence is not important. What is important is his encounter with the risen Jesus. When they narrated the appearance of Jesus, he refused to believe that the Lord was raised from the dead and had visited them. He wanted to see with his own eyes some irrefutable proof of his presence. Thomas personally wanted to encounter Jesus in order to believe in his resurrection. For his refusal to believe, Thomas is often accused as the doubter. And it is right that we ask the question at the juncture whether Thomas was really a doubtful person, or whether the other disciples were the persons who lacked faith. At the outset, it seems as if Thomas was really a man of true faith. When they told him that Jesus had risen and had appeared to them, he was surprised that he could still remain in hiding. He felt if they had really seen Jesus, they would have been really shouting at the top of their voice, telling the world that Jesus indeed is alive.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon sa lahat na nanonood sa ating programa. Let me share an article by Father Michael Cummins. I have never been a fan of the Doubting Thomas designation. I believe it makes light of a very real spiritual and emotional turmoil occurring within the life of the disciple and within countless people throughout history. The term can lead one into the assumption that Thomas must have been a second-rate disciple, if not even something worse. But Thomas was not a second-rate disciple. He was a man who had been hurt. He was a man whose hopes had been crushed. Thomas believed in Jesus. He had followed Jesus and had made the decision to set his life by Jesus. Now Jesus has been killed, even dying the death of a common criminal. The weight of the world's sin, violence, and injustice had crushed Thomas's hope. So Thomas says, "Unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands, and put my fingers into the nail marks, and put my hands into his side, I will not believe." Every Sunday in the Eucharistic liturgy, we profess the Nicene Creed. We profess what we believe and hold true as Christians. What Thomas says in the 20th chapter of John's Gospel, "Unless I see the mark of the nails," is in fact a non-creed that is professed by many people in our world today. People who hold to this non-creed are not necessarily evil or bad people, but they are people who have nevertheless turned in on themselves and who have become lost in their own pain and their own sensations. They have become egocentric. Egocentric meaning thinking only of oneself, not regarding the feelings of others. Thomas at this moment in the gospel story was focused inward and lost in himself, precisely because of his pain and crushed hope. Any person who has experienced intense pain, whether that be physical or emotional, can testify to how easy it is to become turned in on self. So even when the other disciples say that they have seen the Lord, Thomas does not believe because he is so imprisoned within. Thomas cannot even entertain the possibility. Non-creed may not lead to a publicly professed unbelief as found in atheism, but it does lead to a practical unbelief in a person's life, which is an even more besetting sin of our age, I believe. Jesus does not correct Thomas with a developed argument or a theological lesson. It is by showing of his wounds that Jesus answers the non-creed of Thomas. This is how all non-creeds with the effect of practical unbelief in a person's life are ultimately met and answered really. The risen Lord shows Thomas the marks of evil on his own person, which he still bears even in glory, and by doing so he invites Thomas to turn away from self and be moved by both his own salvific wounds, salvific meaning leading to salvation, and through them the wounds of the least of Thomas's brothers and sisters. Thomas is moved, his heart is opened, and he makes that beautiful profession of faith. My Lord and my God.
Si Jesus ay buhay. Wala siya sa libingan. Ipinagdiriwang natin ngayon ang ikalawang linggo ng Pasko ng muling pagkabuhay ng ating Panginoong Hesukristo. Tayo ay nagdiriwang, subalit kung ang ating pagbasa ngayon, makikita natin na ang kanyang mga alagad na kanyang iniwan ay nangangamba, naguguluhan. Hindi nila malaman kung ano kanilang gagawin sa pagkawala ng kanilang guro. Ang iba'y naniniwala na siya ay nabuhay na maguli. Ang iba naman ay hindi. Bago natin tunguhin yon, tingnan natin ang ating mga sarili. Katulad ka ba ng mga alagad ni Jesus na sa mga pagkakataong ito ay may dinaramdam? Katulad ng pangangamba, ikaw ba sa mga sandaling ito ay may pinangangambahan? Katulad ka rin ba ng mga disipulos o ng mga alagad na nangangamba sa darating na bukas kung ano ang mangyayari? O baka naman katulad ka ng iba na nagkakaroon ng takot na harapin ang bukas, takot na idilat ang mga mata sa katotohanan. O di naman kaya katulad ka ng iba na naguguluhan. Ano ba itong nangyayari? Ito ba'y tama? Ito ba'y hindi? Ito ba'y totoo? No? Ating tunghayan ngayon kung ano ang nangyayari sa mga disipulo. Tingnan natin ang kanilang sitwasyon, ang kanilang ginagawa. Tingnan din natin ang ating kalagayan kung tayo iahambing sa kanila. Ating matutunghayan sa ating pagbasa na ang mga alagad ay nagtitipon sa tinatawag na upper room. Sila ay nagsasama-sama. Sila ay nangangamba. Sila ay natatakot sapagkat ang kanilang guro ay hinatulan ng pagkamatay sa pamamagitan ng pagpako sa krus. Maaring sila rin ay nangangamba na makakaranas din sila ng ganoon. Tingnan natin ang mga pangyayari. Sila ay magkatipon sa upper room, samantalang ang mga pinto ay nakapinit. Sa kanilang pangangamba kung ano ang kanilang kahihinatnan. Para bang hindi na nila alam kung anong mangyayari sa kanila ngayong nawalan sila ng guro. Marahil kung ano-ano ang sumasagi sa kanilang mga isipan, kaya sila nagtitipon sa isang malaking silid. Siguro alam din nila na kapag sama-sama ay malakas at may lakas ng loob at may pagkakaisa. Nang magpakita si Jesus sa kanyang mga alagad, ang una niyang pagbati ay "Peace be with you" o "Ang kapayapaan ay sumainyo." Ito ang mga salita na para bang nagbibigay ng katiyakan at kapanatagan. Kung ating iisipin, ang isang taong may pangamba ay walang katiwasayan, kung kaya ito ay nagdudulot ng kaunting ginhawa ng kalooban sa sandaling marinig nila ang salitang, "Ang kapayapaan ay sumainyo." At sa ilang sandali pa, sinabing muli ni Jesus, "Ang kapayapaan ay sumainyo." Para bang sinabi ni Jesus, "Narito ako, huwag na kayong mangamba." Marahil, napansin niya sa unang pagbati na parang hindi natinag ang kanilang pag-aalala. Kung kaya't kailangan itong kanyang ulitin at banggitin ang salitang, "Ang kapayapaan ay sumainyo," na nagdudulot ng tibay ng loob, ng katiwasayan. Para bang naiibsan ang kanilang paghihirap ng damdamin at pag-aalala. Sino nga ba naman ang hindi magkakaroon ng katiwasayan kapag ang narinig mo ang mga salitang, "Ang kapayapaan ay sumaiyo," lalo na't manggagaling sa guro ni katulad ng ating si Jesucristo. Ang tugpong ito na pagpapakita ni Jesus sa kanyang mga alagad ay para bang isang kasiguruhan na siya ay lagi ring nasa sa kanila kapiling. At sa sandaling ito, hiningahan niya ang lahat sa kanila at ipinagkaloob ang banal na Espiritu. Ito ang Espiritong magpapalakas sa kanilang paninindigan, Espiritong magpapalakas ng kanilang damdamin, Espiritong gagabay sa kanila upang ipalaganap, ipamalita ang mabuting balita ng Panginoon. Ito ring banal na Espiritu na ipinagkaloob niya dito sa kanyang mga alagad ay siya ring banal na Espiritu na ating tinanggap ng sandaling tayo ay binyagan sa simbahang Katolika. Ang Espiritong ito'y nananahan sa ating puso't damdamin. Na uukol lamang na siya ay lagi nating paghariin upang sa ganon tayo'y kanyang gabayan, bigyan ng tamang kaisipan, bigyan ng tamang pagpapasiya kung paano natin isasabuhay, isasagawa ang kanyang mga salita.